I'd like to introduce the host of this event. Done a lot of work, and we're happy you're all here. Here's Ed McCann.
Thank you, Rob. Welcome, everyone. We're so glad you could come out for the first ever National Anti-Heroin Rally and Memorial under our beautiful Gateway Arch. All right, once again, I want to thank everyone for coming out today. Our guest speakers, our guests, who are the ralliers, the most important people in my world right now. We love you, ralliers. To start off the program, we have a special person here, Miss Rena Jefferson Martin. She's going to tell you a little bit about why she was selected to give the invocation for the program. Very important reason. That's why most of us are here. Miss Rena Jefferson Martin.
Thank you, everyone. It's important. And I'm just going to lead off with this prayer, if it's okay. Dear Lord Jesus, thank you, Lord, for being our Redeemer, Lord. You died on the cross so that all people might be saved and pass from death into eternal life. Lord, we ask that you hear our prayer. Look with love on all of us who mourn and pray for our loved ones lost. Lord, you alone are holy and compassionate. Forgive us for our loved ones, their sins. Lord, by dying for us on the cross, you opened up the gates of life for those who believe in you. Please do not let our loved ones be parted from you, but by your glorious power, give them the light, and joy, and peace that they deserve in heaven. Lord, please bless this event and all that are here as we try to reach out and make a difference in the world and all communities. Lord, please give us strength, and for everyone that's feeling lost and hopeless, please comfort them, Lord, and console them. Mend their hearts. Lord, send your angels down to guide and protect everyone and every member of the Stop Heroin organization as they continue to rally and save lives and see justice served. In your wonderful, precious name, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you so much, Rena. I'm Ed McCann. I've been doing anti-heroin rallies now for about a year and a half. This is our second time under the arch. We tried to really put something together last year. We had some good rallies, but this year things have just broken loose. And I'm going to tell you a lot about the ralliers, what the ralliers have done so far this year, what's happening. But I want to start out just by saying a few things about why we're here. We're brought here together tonight because of just a terrible tragedy that's sweeping our nation. And it's been sort of kept in the dark for a long time. And we need to get it out so everyone is aware. On average, in the United States right now, each year about 40,000 people are dying from heroin and opiate-related deaths. That's more deaths than traffic accidents and war deaths combined over the past 10 years. It's just sweeping this nation, and it took the country by surprise. Heroin is the most deadly of all the street drugs. There's nothing that comes even close to it. I've been asked many times, why do we rally against heroin? What about meth? What about marijuana? What about cigarettes and alcohol? And the only answer I can come up with is almost everyone that touches heroin dies. The truth of the matter is, heroin kills, on average, 95% of the people who touch it. It has less than a 5% recovery rate. These are proven statistics. Centers for Disease Control have shown that. Many studies have done that. Coroners have looked at this. It's been studied recently, and it's just now really being realized that this is such a problem across the entire country. 40,000 people a year. In the past 5 years, just in the St. Louis metropolitan area, over 2,000 lives have been taken by heroin. Many of them are first-time users. We have to educate our kids. We have to let them know that this stuff is so bad. If you touch it once, it is going to kill you. It might be the first time that they touch it. It might be a slow, torturous, painful death for everyone that stretches over 10 or 20 years, but it's going to take your life. And we have to educate the kids. The key to the whole thing is the kids here, because they're the ones that are being targeted by the dealers. And the dealers, they know exactly what they're doing, and the drug cartels know exactly what they're doing. If you get somebody to try heroin one single time, 95% chance they're going to get hooked and die from it, from trying just once. We've got to get this word out there. I was on Facebook last night, and someone made a point on one of the posts that just really struck me. There are all kinds of foundations out there. There are all kinds of diseases out there. There's people pitching in to help with breast cancer. There's people pitching in to help with pancreatic cancer. There's all these groups out there. Well, what we're trying to do is solve a problem that most of us also consider a disease too, and that's the disease of addiction. Okay? There's lots of groups out there that have been trying to do things with this for a long time, but we need to get it out in the streets, and that's why we decided collectively to rally. And we believe that it's saving lives and at least getting the word out there to active addicts. They see us out there, they know we care, they stop at all our rallies, they ask us questions. We rally to save lives. That's why we do it. Most of the people in the rally group, as large as it's gotten, if everyone just looks around and sees how many people are here tonight, it's a very sad statement. Most of the people that are here tonight are here because they've lost someone they loved very much. I lost my best friend in the world at the age of 25. She was a beautiful, vibrant woman. Everyone loved her. She was very popular. She was just a gem on the face of the earth. She wasn't an addict. Somebody gave her drugs. The first time she died from it, she was thrown face down in a field for 3 weeks and left there while her family and her friends searched for her. She was just dumped off like a piece of trash. And many of the people in this crowd right now tonight have similar stories. The sad thing, Rena, who gave the invocation, that's what happened in her family. It happened to many, many others. So we rally, most of us rally in memory of a loved one that we've lost. Let me tell you a little bit about the rally group, because this is a grassroots group here. We don't take any money, we take no donations. We all do this in the memory of the loved ones that we've lost, and in the hope that we can help the addicts who are struggling now and let them know that there's help available. In the past 1 year, our rally group has held more than 40 rallies all around the St. Louis metropolitan area. We rally all the way up to about 75 miles north, south, east, and west of the St. Louis metropolitan area. 40 rallies, and most of them were very well attended. Some of them up to 200, 300 people. To do that, we organize on Facebook. It's a social network. It's a good tool, and we use it as well as we can. We sent out, collectively, the people in this rally group sent out over 67,000 Facebook rally invitations to get people to come out and support our cause. That's all of you. If you take the number of people that have been at these 40 plus rallies, and you count them individually for every rally they've attended, That's about 3,200 people rallying in the St. Louis area. That's quite a great number. And that's about 10,000 hours of rally time. Pretty amazing. And that's just what we've done in St. Louis. Chad, one of the organizers who will be speaking in a few minutes, we were talking when we first started to organize this rally tonight, and it was a very simple conversation. I said, let's make this one really big, and he had a one-word question. He said, national, bing, the lights went off, and we just took that and ran. And let me tell you what's happened and is happening in the United States right now. National anti-heroin rallies, because of our rally group and the interest that we created here in St. Louis, has spread across the country. Today there have been rallies Today, the states participating in anti-heroin rallies, and some of these are very big too: Missouri, Illinois, California, Arizona, New Mexico, Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Massachusetts. That's not bad for a first try. Many of you are wearing our national rally shirt today. They were on sale. I believe there's still some. If you want to get one after the program, there might still be some available. But a lot of thought went into the design of this shirt. And if you can just think about it, and as you walk around, you know, look at people's shirts and think about the meaning there. And I have to put in a plug for my wonderful 16-year-old daughter, Marissa. She was the one who really did the artwork for this logo. And she attends just about every rally in the memory of her good friend, Valerie Butler, too. Thank you, Marissa. The logo on the front of the shirt, we think includes all the messages that we try to do with our rally group. The word awareness. That's what we do with the rallies and with Facebook. It's our #1 mission, is just getting out there and making people know of the death and destruction that heroin is causing. That's the awareness part of the logo. In the middle of the universal stop sign, treatment. We're trying to help those seeking to get out of this addiction. And that's almost all of them. Does anyone here know someone that loves being an addict and wants to keep doing it? 99.9% of the addicts hate the fact that they're an addict and they want to get out. There's just not enough resources. On that note, we have a speaker tonight that's going to give you some very promising news and a big surprise that was reserved just for tonight. Another part of the logo is prosecution. We're not talking about prosecution for the regular addict, the user. We're talking about prosecuting the peddlers. These are the people that are capturing your kids and killing your kids. By the thousands, they're killing our kids. And it has to stop, and we need to do something about that. Underneath the logo, remembrance of loved ones lost. At the end of the ceremony, there will not be a dry eye in the crowd, because you're going to hear the name of someone that you loved and you lost, and we all miss them very much. On the back of the shirt, is the gateway arch. At each base of the arch is the name of a law, and there are petitions down here at one of the tables. If you haven't signed the petition, please do so. The first one is a law that we want to get passed in the state of Missouri. It's called Valerie's Law. What that is, it's a law that increases the penalties for drug-induced homicide, and we believe it will make it easier for the prosecutors to get their job done. It's much harder to prove a murder charge against someone than if you have a law like Valerie's Law that says all we have to prove is that they got the drugs from you, and it has the same kind of penalties, years and years and years in prison, because they killed somebody. In my eyes, it's murder. On the other side of the arch, at the base of the arch, is a 911 Good Samaritan law. Most of the people who have died from heroin were not alone when they died. They were left there to die by the addicts that they were with. And they're almost always with another addict. They don't normally use alone. Those people do not call 911 because they're afraid of going to jail themselves for possession or use or whatever. And so they will leave the body there to die and won't even tell anyone else. And the 911 Good Samaritan law, what that will do is give them limited immunity from prosecution if they will just call emergency services to save their friend's life. It's a very simple concept. Eleven states have a 911 Good Samaritan law. 91 universities across the United States have a 911 Good Samaritan law. Missouri does not, and Missouri needs it. The last thing I wanted to mention about the significance of the logo on the back is, of course, right in the middle of the arch, framed, and it's an angel, and we all know who that angel is. It may be a different person to each one of us, but it's our angel, and they're looking down on us tonight. So those are the things that I wanted to speak about. Thank you again so much for coming. I would like to introduce our very next speaker, Mayor Nick Guinn. Mayor Guinn is a very important part of our program, and he too is here for a reason. And I will let him tell you why this is such an important cause to him. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I want to thank Ed and Chad for organizing this event. I've been watching, following on Facebook, and I've asked them to come to Wentzville to do a rally in Wentzville because we do need to bring awareness. This is a very dangerous drug, as he said, and we're at war. I mean, we're at war, and the enemy is heroin. And the more awareness we bring, the more we can probably stop this. So I had an issue going back here 4 months ago. My niece, who lives in Wentzville, she died of an overdose of heroin. She met a young man, and they were dating for a while, and none of the family, the mother and father, didn't see any of the warning signs. My wife did. None of us could. We didn't know what to look for. And from what I understand, this was like the third time she tried heroin. And on the third attempt, she died. And she laid there for 6 hours. As Ed said, nobody wants to go to jail, so they tried to cover up the evidence and got rid of all the needles and all the paraphernalia that they had in the house so they wouldn't go to jail. If we'd had this 9/11 law, maybe they would have called and she could have been saved. And it's heart-wrenching. I talked to a gentleman here a few minutes ago, Ron, and he lost his son 2 years ago, and he's still hurting the pain from his loss. I went through it a little bit with my son. It wasn't heroin, but I went through addiction with him, and it took me a long time to get him straight and clean, and he's back on a straight and narrow track, and caused me shingles and bypass surgery dealing with the distress of what you go through. So when you go through this, I know how heartfelt it is with you, because it doesn't just affect the person that passes away. It's a domino effect on a whole family, and it affects the whole family and the focus of your life. And you never, I don't think you ever get over the loss. I don't know how you can. I couldn't imagine, because I'm not in that place. But with my niece I am, and I was close to my niece, but not as close as I would have been if it had been my son. And I just commend Ed and Chad for everything they're doing and bringing this awareness. And you know, when they talk to police officers, they're kind of desensitized because they deal with some of the worst crimes and some of the worst issues they have to deal with, and they just don't have the compassion. But when an organization like this comes out and rallies and everybody comes together to bring awareness, it makes people kind of second guess and think about well, maybe, somebody made a mistake. Maybe we can help them. And how can we make these people an asset rather than a liability? How can we help get them treatment and get them back into society? And by going to prison, they come out of prison, they can't get a job because they get a record. So nobody wants to take a second chance on them. We need to have some kind of a state tax for corporations that will help get people a job, to try to help get them back on track, to help them become a viable part of the community again. Instead of locking them up and going for the hardcore drug dealers, but when you lock them up, you're spending $30,000 average a month to house them and feed them and clothe them and everything else, and you can probably get by less and make them a viable part of the community and make them an asset in the community. So, it's just hard. I just look at all the faces here and all the pain and suffering and the people that have lost somebody. My heart goes out to you. Like I said, we're at war, and I'll do anything I can to help. It looks like we have a large crowd here that wants to reach out and connect with people. Maybe you know somebody, a neighbor, that you may see the warning signs. Their kid may be on something. Talk to your neighbor. Don't be afraid. You may lose your neighbor's friendship, but because in my experience, when you tell somebody, they kind of just don't want to hear it. They don't want to believe that that's true, that their son or daughter is on some kind of drug. But you just got to keep pushing that to get them to get help for that child before it's too late. Because then when it's too late, they'll come and say, I wish you would have told me. And then it's too late. But I think that's pretty much all I have to say on this. It's just heart-wrenching to all the people out here. I know they've always know somebody or lost somebody. And my heart goes out to you, and I just want to say God bless you. The angels are watching over your child. And God bless you. God bless America. And just keep fighting the fight. Keep bringing awareness.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that it's a little hard for some of you to hear, so I just want to encourage the speakers. You have to get very close to the microphone so that everybody in the crowd can hear you. Can you hear us all right? Yeah. All right. Our next speaker, our next special guest is Ms. Leah Womack-Askey. She is the prosecuting attorney. This is the chief prosecutor for Lincoln County in Missouri. And we brought her here for a very good reason. She goes after the people who are killing our kids like they're killers.
Good evening. My name is Leah Womack-Askey, and I am the prosecuting attorney in Lincoln County, elected in January of 2011. I am the proud mother of 3 beautiful children, a 12-year-old Barley, a 7-year-old John, and a 2-year-old Ren. And when I took this job as a newly elected prosecutor, I didn't want to do just the norm. I didn't want to just prosecute crime and ensure justice, but I wanted to take this amazing opportunity to help shape and influence the laws in the state of Missouri and hopefully make the place where my children were going to grow up a little bit safer. On January 1st, 2011, I took office, and I will say that my criminal law experience was very limited. My learning curve was somewhat inverted at the time. It still is a little bit. And just 35 days after that, on February 5th, 2011, Crystal Cagle, who is a 32-year-old woman in Foley, Missouri, which is in my county, died of a heroin overdose. And what happened with Miss Cagle, I soon learned, was that at 32 years old, she was partying with some friends, and she had used all kinds of drugs along the way, and none of them really were getting the job done for her. And so she looked to one of her friends who was a heroin user, and she asked her to assist her because she wasn't real comfortable in using a needle, didn't think she could shoot herself up. So being a good friend, Rebecca Calloway decided to go ahead and shoot Miss Cagle in the arm, and she passed out from that. Instead of taking her to the hospital, instead of going to get help right away, instead of calling 911, since Miss Calloway was also under the influence, and there were lots of drugs in the residence. She decided the best idea would be to put her in the bathtub. She left her there for 2 days before someone finally called 911. Miss Cagle would have been much better off had she just taken her to the hospital, dropped her off, and driven away. But instead, after 48 hours had lapsed, and by the time she made it to the hospital, she died. So, I decided, law enforcement approached me, wanted me to charge with the possession and that those things were found inside the residence. And I decided to go against the norm, and I charged Rebecca Calloway with murder in the 2nd degree.
Amen.
Now, since that time, my office has taken a really aggressive approach with regard to drug distribution in our county, and we use what I like to call the but-for reasoning when I look at every case. And you may ask yourself, what is the but-for reasoning? Well, I would say, but for the rain, the grass would be dry. But for my sick child, I would have had more sleep last night. But for the person being drunk, the accident wouldn't have happened. And in this case, but for Rebecca Calloway administering heroin to Crystal Cagle, she wouldn't have died.
Amen.
Anytime I can make a causal link between the distributor and the victim, I'm going to do that. I've been criticized by some of my peers for being a little overzealous, maybe because I'm young, maybe because I'm green. But my goal is to send a message to our community and to our state that heroin is an epidemic that is ruining our nation and killing our children. Now, in the 45th Circuit, we also believe in rehabilitation, and we have started a drug court back in 2004. So our new aggressive approach allows my staff to take a look at every case, even if it's theft or if it's tampering or something like that. And if, again, I can link it back to the fact that that person is stealing to better support their drug habit, or if they're burglarizing or they're breaking the law for whatever reason, and it has an underlying result of drugs, then I'll go ahead and refer that to our drug court so that those people can be rehabilitated. This year we are up 60% in our referrals. We have an 80% success rate in our drug court, and we've had 107 graduates. Now, when I was asked to come here, I was honored, first off, and just kind of wondered what's the purpose? Why are we here? I strongly believe that we each have a purpose, and we've each been called upon by our Creator to make a difference and to make a change in this world in the future to make our children's lives better than that of what we had. But for our attention, but for our awareness, but for these rallies, but for our proclamation, heroin will continue. I call upon each of you to work within your own disciplines, within your own gifts, within your own talents that God has given you to help stop this epidemic. That's what I intend to do through my job as a prosecuting attorney in Lincoln County. On August 30th, 2012, just a few weeks ago, Rebecca Calloway pled guilty to murder in the 2nd degree for the killing of Crystal Cagle. Now, I'll be honest, I wasn't overly thrilled with the sentence that was imposed, but I was willing to sacrifice a stiff sentence for a plea that was possibly the first one of its kind in our state, changing the law as we know it. I currently have 2 other cases filed, murder cases filed in my office with the same set of facts, and I hope to pave the way for legislature and case law to substantiate these dispositions so that one day we can together eradicate this epidemic in our state. It's not going to be today and it's not going to be tomorrow, but we together, we have to persevere, we have to work hard, and we have to stay the course. I have a plaque in my office that I look at all the time, and it's by Winston Churchill, when he said, never give in, for all things large or petty, great or small, never, ever, ever give in. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Prosecutor. You're doing a wonderful job. All right. We could not have found two better prosecutors, one from Missouri and one from Illinois, than our two guest speakers tonight. You just heard Ms. Askey. Our next guest speaker, Tom Gibbons, the state's attorney for Madison County, Illinois. Please welcome him.
Thank you, Ed. Thanks to all of you for being here tonight. As you just heard from another prosecutor, and I'm not going to repeat the things that she said, the work that we do in the justice system and in law enforcement is one important part of this fight. She asked the question and answered, why are we here? But I'll tell you why I'm here. In my 2 years as state's attorney in Madison County, I have met countless families and friends of addicts. Some still suffering, too many already lost. That's why I'm here. I'm here because I live in a community that is suffering the aftermath of too many overdoses and suffering through the cancer of crime that spreads from addiction. That's why I'm here.
Amen.
Most importantly, I'm here tonight because of all the empty spaces I see out here in front of me next to you and you and you. And those are the spaces where friends and family should have been sitting tonight, but they have been lost. Most of us who are involved with this horrible problem believe that it's going to take a lot of different things to solve this. In addition to all of you and everyone else that's working to fix this, to cure this epidemic, we need education. That's part of why we're here. We need enforcement. That's what I do every day. But most importantly, we need treatment. We need help for those who are suffering. We need a light at the end of the tunnel for the families and friends around them to know that there's a path to redemption. We all have a responsibility to fight for that. We have a responsibility to call our legislators, to call the people who make those decisions about where we spend our precious resources in our community, to let them know it is a critically important part, absolutely necessary. If we are going to survive this epidemic and move forward, we have got to have a path forward for those who are suffering. I will continue to fight for that. I will continue to educate. I will continue to prosecute and enforce. But we have all got to fight to make sure that there is a path forward. This fight is a cause of our generations. And together, we fight because we honor the memories of all of those who are not here with us tonight. For those who have been lost and those that are now suffering, I just want to promise you that today and tomorrow and every day forward, I will be there in that fight with you. I hope you'll join me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prosecutor. Our next guest is a tireless lifesaver. Many of you know him. He's at almost every rally that we have. See his picture all over Facebook. He does this about 90% of his free time. He lives and breathes the anti-heroin cause. And there's a reason, and he'll tell you about it. Please welcome our great friend, Chad Sabora.
Hi everyone, my name is Chad, and I am a recovering heroin addict. I want to thank everybody that spoke before me, and I do want to piggyback on something that was mentioned that I don't have prepared, and this is a war that we are fighting every day, but it's not the normal war that we're used to. This is a spiritual war, but this is a war that all of us can win together. And typically when an addict is asked to speak, we're supposed to tell our story, our personal experiences, about how we became an addict, what happened in our lives, and how we recovered. But tonight, that's just not appropriate. Because there's nothing special about my story, nothing special about what happened to me. I'm just like every single other person that suffers from the disease of addiction. So for that purpose, tonight, I'm going to tell our story. And if you're here and you're in recovery, this is what happened to all of us. Not a single one of us were bad people. We weren't born bad. There's nothing inherently wrong with us. We were just born different. There is something inside of us that's impossible to predict. It's impossible to diagnose. That thing inside us will take us down a path that not all people come back from. But what's very important is that every single person has the same chance to come back from that path. Every single person has a chance to recover because we do recover. Most of you started the same way as I did. It was a few pain pills here and there. It was innocent partying with our friends when we were teenagers. But where they could stop and go on with their lives, we couldn't. There was something different about us. We didn't know what the word one meant. To this day, I still don't know what the word one means. This quote-unquote innocent experimentation with our friends, it turns into a life that can only be described as one thing, pure living hell. It was a prison for each and every one of us. We were trapped inside our own mind and our own body. And if we momentarily escape for a few days or a few months at a time, like a lot of us have, we can get trapped again instantly. That's one of the biggest things we have to accept about this disease, is that we suffer from a condition that tries to convince us on a daily basis that we are not sick, but we are. That's why we have the saying, there is no such thing as one more time. And that's why Nakata has the saying, not even once, because this is how quickly this can take us. And we will sacrifice everything we have, everything we believe in for this drug. We will give up everything. Prison, jails, institutions, that's the only place that we'll end up if we don't recover. I know it's not a surprise to anyone that this drug has infected every aspect of our society. We already know that heroin is in the suburbs, but it goes deeper than that. It's in your hospitals, it's in your Fortune 500 companies, and from my personal experience, it is in the legal community. This drug and disease does not discriminate. It doesn't care who you are, where you came from. It doesn't care about your education, about your money. It only cares about one thing, and that is destroying every single thing you believe in, tearing your family apart, and it only has one goal in the end, and that goal is to kill you. If you're here tonight and you've recovered from heroin addiction, you should be standing proud of yourself, because every day clean is a miracle. And if you're here tonight and you're still struggling, there's one message for you, and that's to forgive yourself. And take advantage of the resources we have available tonight. I promise you one thing, that if you're struggling and you need help, and you reach out your hand to almost any single person that's here tonight, someone's gonna have their hand out for you. Somebody is gonna love you and guide you through this and get you back to where you need to belong. And although we have a lot of resources here tonight, we have all the love, education, and support we could probably ask for, I have to be 100% honest with you. The help that is out there for addicts is slim and very limited. There's a saying that we have, and it's something that I believe firmly in. It's almost my mantra in life, and that's no addict seeking recovery need ever die in active addiction. Now, this is an amazing saying, and it's a good thing to say, but in the real world, it is not that case. In the real world that I live in, I have addicts coming to me almost on a daily basis. They're looking for help. Now, we may be addicts, and a lot of society may look down on us for our disease and for some of the things we've done, but we are somebody's children. We're somebody's parent, and we want out of the hell, and every single one of us deserves a chance out. Now, I want to take a minute to talk about how bad things are out there when somebody reaches out to me. These are normally people that don't have insurance, and they don't have money. When those two aren't there, the options are almost slim to none. What we have been resorted to doing lately in the area is taking people to ERs and putting them on a 96-hour suicide hold. Now, a lot of you have heard me speak before, and you know one thing. 96 hours is not enough time to kick dope and give you a chance to start your life over again. It's simply not enough, and we need more. Now, there's another saying I like. I'm going with a lot of sayings tonight, so bear with me. We're not bad people trying to get good. All we are is sick people trying to get better, but we can't get better if we have nowhere to go. There is some hope on the horizon, though. And the next speaker, Dan Duncan from the National Council, is going to talk about that. He's going to share some news with you that's going to be some good news for people looking for help. And I just want to take a minute to thank everybody for giving me an opportunity to be a part of your life and do whatever I can to help, and for coming here tonight to listen to us speak and to support us. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. A lot of people here tonight that I've met over the last few years, and unfortunately usually in the worst of circumstances when they want somebody dear to them. And I want to say that something about Chad. A lot of the parents and people I've met with who want somebody who is trying to help somebody get well, oftentimes wants to know what they can do to get back, what can they do to help, can one person help. I think Chad's a great example of what one person can do, because he is the guy that has driven an awful lot of people here tonight for this rally. He keeps continuing on a daily basis to help people, as he just said, to get into treatment. But he runs up against issues as we do at the National Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse. And it's frustrating to me, and has been frustrating for years, to get people the treatment that they need. And probably of all the addicts that I work with or alcoholics, it seems that opiate addiction has been the most frustrating, because there's a certain discrimination in a way historically with getting these folks the help that they need. One of the things that we've become aware of over the last couple of years as this epidemic has gotten worse is the amount of young people who are using heroin or have died from heroin started with prescription painkillers. There is something that we can do about this, and that is to have what's called a prescription monitoring database program. This is a law that we can pass in Missouri that would make it difficult for anybody to go doctor shopping. So many of the drugs that find their way onto the street actually comes from doctor's prescriptions. At this point in time, Missouri is the only state in the country that does not have this law, a prescription drug database monitoring system. Why? Last year, Missouri had a bill traveling through the state government. It made it fine through the House, but when it hit the Senate, it hit a roadblock. And if you haven't heard this story, it's not a good one. One senator, Senator Rob Schaaf, S-C-H-A-A-F, from St. Joseph, Missouri, on the west side of the state, decided he didn't like this law because he thought it was intrusive. So he decided to filibuster the law and kill it, which is exactly what he did. And if you haven't heard, this senator is a doctor. He's a physician. And he made the statement that if people use prescription drugs and overdose and die, they clean up the gene pool. This is an unacceptable, vile statement. And we're not going to just sit back and take this statement, this attitude, any longer. So this next session, the National Council on Alcoholism, and many of our friends in law enforcement and other people who work in treatment and whatnot are going to fight for this and try and make this happen. But in terms of being inspired by somebody like Chad, I want to ask each one of you, I want to challenge you to help us with this by speaking to your senator and telling them that we need this law, because this senator has already told the potential sponsors of the bill, don't even bother, I'm going to kill it again if you try it again. So I think that one man should not be able to control whether or not we have this law. The only state in the country that doesn't have it. Now, Chad said I was going to bring some good news, and I am. And I'm glad for once to be able to have some good news. Two things. One is, if you hadn't heard, we're passing out Save the Date cards tonight. Channel 9 is going to have a Heroin Town Hall special in early November, on November 12th. And this is going to have a live audience, and what they would, I was in a meeting this week with them, and they would like to have people come to this Town Hall television special who have been impacted by heroin, either directly or indirectly. So that's a lot of you tonight. So down here there are some cards, save the date. As of October 1st, you can call Channel 9 or go online, I think, and reserve a spot and be part of that night. This is a good thing because this helps raise awareness. The National Council came up with the Not Even Once campaign early on last year to try to raise awareness, but we can't stop with that. We have to go beyond that because, as Tom Gibbons and others have said, and Chad, we have to have treatment available for the people that need it. So that's the good news. Here's the good news. The United Way of St. Louis, of Greater St. Louis, watching what was going on, watching what the National Council and some of our partners have been doing, trying to raise awareness, decided that they wanted to get involved. And we started meeting with them a few months ago with the idea of putting together a lot of funders in the St. Louis area to create a new fund, kind of a super fund for treatment. And that's what they did. And they invited in a whole bunch of funders, which is kind of unprecedented, because funders usually operate independent of one another. But they pulled in a bunch of funders and said, basically, we need you to throw in whatever you can and help us create this fund for treatment. So what's happened is we're calling it the Regional Heroin Response. It just now went through last week in terms of the first time we've been able to really talk about it. I'm going to tell you real quick who these funders are because they deserve some credit for what they're doing. First and foremost, United Way of Greater St. Louis, Missouri Division of Alcohol and Drug Abuse, St. Louis City Mental Health Board of Trustees, Lutheran Family Services, St. Louis, St. Charles, Franklin, and Lincoln County Children's Service Funds, Regional Health. Very positive development. This is going to allow them to treat at least 160 more addicts per year in the Greater St. Louis area. So the treatment, the National Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse will continue to do the awareness piece, and treatment will be provided by Preferred Family Health Care and Bridgeway, and they will be providing ambulatory detox. So again, it's good to have some good news. I hope that we can help those people that you may know that need help, and that will start here in the next few weeks. So thanks very much for having me tonight. Appreciate it.
That wonderful news. Amazing. We had a big surprise for you. Thank you. Our next guest is a very special person to this movement. She's one of the people that really helped things get started with the rallies. And she does it in the memory of her son. Please welcome our good friend Marilyn Smashey.
10 days ago, Taylor would have turned 21. It was kind of a peaceful day at the cemetery as I sat there having my Taylor time. And I wondered, what would he be like today? You know, in my mind, I thought of Taylor as being a successful young man, doing all kinds of great things. But reality is, we probably would be an exhausted family dealing with a heroin addict. The morning that I found Taylor dead, everything in my life changed. I felt like I got a gut punch from God, and I didn't understand why. I couldn't understand, what did I do? What did I do wrong? 18 years was not long enough. You know, I would find myself following cars that looked like his, or I would see a young person that resembled Taylor, and I would go up to him because I wanted to look at him and make sure it wasn't him. Because I didn't want to believe that Taylor was gone. I read many books about grief and life after death and the loss of a child, and it seemed that nothing helped me. You know, I would find myself feeling like I was in a nightmare. Every time I closed my eyes, I would see that image of Taylor the way I found him that morning. Sometimes I would even go sit in his room, and I would put all the posters from the funeral up on his walls so I could try to memorize every photograph with his smile so I wouldn't see that image anymore. But it didn't work. You know, I then relied back on my faith. I prayed all the time. And I asked God to please help me. Because I don't know what I'm supposed to do. What am I supposed to do? What do you want me to do? And one day I was watching the news and I saw Dan Duncan on the news, and he was talking about these town hall meetings and how heroin was becoming an epidemic. And I thought, I have to find where these meetings are because I need to talk to him. Maybe he could give me some answers. I looked everywhere for answers. I knew nothing about heroin when this all happened. So I went to town hall meetings and I participated in telling Taylor's story. Anywhere that somebody would listen, I would tell his story. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to change people's lives so that they didn't have to deal with what I dealt with. Whether it was rallies, news stories, radio, it didn't matter. Anybody that would listen. But I wanted to reach the young people. I thought if I could get into the schools and I could speak to the teenagers, I knew they could relate to Taylor and the teen issues that he had. But I needed to make an impact. I needed to grab their heart. So as I stood in front of hundreds of students, I asked them to please look at me as if I am your mother, standing here telling your story because of one choice that you've made. And you could have heard a pin drop in that auditorium. Everyone was quiet. Before I left, everyone was in tears. And later, I had parents and staff and students come to me and tell me what a difference it made telling Taylor's story. I knew at that time that I had fulfilled a promise that I had made to Taylor that day that he died, that I would do something to make a difference. Like I was needing to do something. Something was missing personally for me. And I was given a book to read. It's called Tuesdays with Maury. And it's about a man dying. And he talks a lot about life lessons. And he also talks about acceptance. I accepted the fact that Taylor died from heroin. And I needed to accept the fact that he made that choice to use. But I also needed to make the choice to forgive. And I first of all forgave my son. Taylor had an addiction, a disease that he couldn't help. And I also came to forgive those who were with my son that night. Although that was a very hard part of this process, they were no different than Taylor. They had an addiction, a disease. Had my son lived and one of them died, what would I want to have happened to him? And mostly I needed to forgive myself, because I beat myself up for a long time trying to figure out where I went wrong as a parent. But I didn't do anything wrong, and it was not my fault. You know, a big part of me died that day that Taylor died. But I am still alive, and I want to live life. To be consumed by heroin and let heroin consume my life or be a victim of it anymore. I want to share a quote from the book Tuesdays with Warren. And he has said, accept what you are able to do and what you are not able to do. Accept the past as the past without denying it or discarding it. Learn to forgive yourself and learn to forgive others. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marilyn. Our next speaker is someone who gives a whole lot of his time and effort at the rallies, on his free time. He's another tireless supporter of the rally group. Please welcome John Gergesa.
Hi, thanks everybody for coming out. One of my heroes, Marilyn Smashy there, folks. She's one of the reasons that I got started, and I couldn't believe her courage and just her tireless effort to get out there and hustle and network and get things going. So I just want to kind of pick up on some of the things that she was saying as well. That a couple of things. Number one, when we have a child that dies from some kind of a tragedy, and generally, you know, if somebody dies under the age of 25, it's due to an automobile accident or an industrial accident, or maybe they have some kind of CF or some other kind of leukemic type disease. But it's just not normal for our children or for young people to die before we do. So that's a very, very difficult death, period. Let alone the stigma of addiction and with this heroin epidemic, and that's one of the reasons why I got involved in my career. I've never seen anything like it. And there's a whole lot of science behind it, but basically it is classified as a brain disease, and it's the hijacked brain. And it's very hard to get that brain back when it starts in adolescence. But when we do lose a child, oftentimes because it is from drugs, you know, you hear somebody say if they have cancer, oh, they died of lung cancer, did they smoke? And they say, well, you know, yeah. Well, then, you know, there's your answer. They smoke cigarettes. So if a kid dies from heroin, there's not a lot of sympathy related to that. And so they must judge and think, well, you must have been a really bad mom or a really bad dad or a really bad family. And folks, the data does not show that at all. So there is a stigma associated with that, and people really don't understand it. And like Mr. Duncan was saying earlier, that we have to band together to get people to understand that this is just not like smoking marijuana or an experimental kind of phase, that the brain actually does get hijacked. So when we have a death of a loved one from this, you know, we don't get the same kind of support we would get if it was from leukemia or an automobile accident. So there's kind of an alienation in that whole thing. And that's why I really encourage people that if you're having a difficult time and you're not moving forward, because like Marilyn said, you have to get to the point where you have to stop blaming everybody else, and particularly the guilt that parents feel and friends feel. If I only had done this, or if in 4th grade I would have done that, it doesn't matter, you know. People make a choice to do drugs. And with heroin and the product that's out now, it's a very, very fast progression. So that when we lose a child like that, I see folks that you know, they put this pressure on themselves that they should immediately be over the grief, or maybe the loved ones or their family say, you know, pull yourself up, get going, get busy, blah, 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 blah. But it's just not that easy because of what I just said. The other part of that is is that, you know, you hear about the stages of grief that was a Kubler-Ross experiment back in the 70s, where you have denial, and you have anger, and you have bargaining, and you have projection, and all blame, and all this other kind of stuff. Well, people will do that in different kinds of ways. So it's kind of like treatment. You know, the most successful treatment is individualized treatment. You cannot rush the grief process. It's different for everybody. It puts a lot of strain on families, on the kids, on relationships. But there is a continuum. And that first step, obviously, is for it to sink in. So we need to be patient with one another. Harris House has a great support group, GRASP, and there's a couple of other things going on in town. So there's nothing wrong with going to a support group to identify with other people who have shared that kind of special loss. I mean, identification with other people going through the process is one of the things that helps us get better more quickly. And then by that we get out of ourselves and we help other people. But it's a continuum, and it moves along in time. So the other thing that I want to say about that is that, you know, you can go back in your mind and say woulda, coulda, shoulda, if. Right? Some of the nicest people that walk the world are people who are in recovery from drug addiction or other addictions. It's their behavior that's changed, their brain is hijacked from the addiction, and it's not the same person. So Marilyn and I had started the STL Heroin Help as a way to try to adjunctly help the NACDA, trying to find more mentoring for younger people to go into schools, to talk to the kids, because the longitudinal data still shows that there is success in prevention. You know, back in the Nixon administration in the late 60s, they did a study about, we'll go into high schools and we'll educate the kids and drug use will go down. And that was in the height of Vietnam, and, you know, a lot of heroin was coming back, and pot and other kind of drugs. But drug use went up, but people chose drugs that were less harmful. So that's why we really owe the National Council here in St. Louis a lot of credit for the fact that the Not Even Once program probably has saved hundreds of lives. You know, where kids, So with that, we still know the kids can go, oh, that's really bad stuff. And unfortunately now, people know what heroin is. You know, they'll call it different names to get people to try it. So kids might be at a party and they're good kids, and there are kids, and there are nieces, nephews, and other kind of people, and maybe they have a beer or something like that, and someone here says, try this. Well, we try it, and some of them get really hooked on it. Very fast progression. So in conclusion here, I just want people to support each other and get involved. And STL Heroin Help, we're looking for volunteers to start kind of different mentoring programs to help out in the schools. And our website crashed, and we got to back up. So if you want to help us, please let us know. But be patient with one another, and know that the grieving process takes years. But you cannot let it consume your life. So when I work with people, I tell them, take time to grieve, but then compartmentalize that grief somewhere and get on with your life. And then when you need to take it out and examine it, if you want to smell someone's clothing, or, you know, smell the cologne or the perfume they used to wear, go into their room, you know, do that. But don't let it consume you, because if it consumes you, you never get by. If you need medication, there's plenty of people that are educated in that, deal with grief, and sometimes we need medication as an adjunct tool to treat depression. So thanks very much for coming, and if you want to get involved, we'd love to have you.
Thank you so much, John. The next part of the ceremony, I'm pretty sure will bring everyone to tears. We did this last year. And most of you will recognize one of the names that will be read. And we are reading almost 500 names this year. Almost 500 names, and the majority of them were young people from this area. It's so sad. If you have a flashlight, when the name of the loved one that you lost is read, we would just ask you to turn your flashlight on
in memory of them and shine it towards heaven. I want to welcome the two people who are going to read the names, Trish Nelson Bennett and Tori York.
Hello.
Aaron Roshan. Can't hear. Aaron Groshin. Aaron Lawrence, 20. Aaron Patrick Mearns, 31.
Aaron Ray Hobson. Abby J. Hines, 33 years old. Adria Elton.
Al Sotero, 25. Alex Wickman, 19. Alexander Mile, 28.
Alan Harrell, 52. Amanda Purrington Paul, 29. Amanda Marie Blair, 26.
Amanda Webb, 33. Amber Dawn McGathrie. Amber Hampton.
Amber McCarter, 22. Amber Morgan, 19. Amy Catherine Dean Kate.
Amy Marie Brown. Andrea Elaine Rogers, 26. Andrea Rogers, 26.
Andrew Crouch. Andrew Eagles, 22. Andrew Jones.
Andrew Kim, 20. Andrew Scott Iglesias, 22. Angela M. Malkowski, 27.
Angela Marie Barnes. Angie Marie Forster. Angie Marie Strasser, 36.
Annie Sidlauskas. Anthony Bengino. Anthony Paul Curtis, 45.
Ashley. Ashley Jones. Ashley Marie Jefferson.
Ashley Skiba. Ashley Weber. Austin Jean Klemusko, 23.
Austin Stevenson. Barbara Douglas. Bake Buscool, 19.
Bear, Ben Lemons, Betty Toner,
Billy Cabral, Billy Joe Richardson, BJ the 3rd, 20.
Bobby Page. Bobby Pogue, 24. Bobby Yall.
Brad Cassidy. Brad Chiclos. Brad Martin, 27.
Brad Michael Brinkley. Bradley Scott Martin, 27. Brady.
Brandon Duran, 22. Brandon Williams. Brent D. Last, Jr., 26.
Brent Degler, 20. Brent J. Mullins. Brian Masdra, 21.
Brian Mueller. Brian Peterson. Cameron Bootsy.
Cameron Martin Weiss, 19. Carl Zerna. Casey Wethington.